You got challenges that you're going to run across.
You know, he went to prison, but it wasn't a regular day like how the people here in Cleveland, you catch a case, you know, you go through the court system, maybe you get probation, maybe you get 6 months. No, this was world news. This was worldwide news when my father went to jail. We had, I guess you can call them like government officials, you know, with badges. They wanted to know what we were doing, and they started watching us, recording us. You know, it was a different time. It was a different time. Rights for Blacks were very different back then. So we really felt like we were being harassed. We're just like, hey, look, we're just trying to mind our own business over here. But because we're thriving and flourishing without government interference, now they're looking at us with suspicious eyes. Like, what is this group? What is this faction doing over here? You know, they're looking at like, these are Muslims. Remember, we went through the Malcolm X era. You know, they're looking at us like, you got this faction of Muslims over here. What do they have in those homes? Why are they all congregating together?
You know damn well I can't make a comment. Or why you be some jackass? You know damn well what went down.
So they actually breached our home and came into our home and started looking around, and they took all the weapons out of our homes and everything. And they did it in a way that was very distasteful. It was a show of strength. It was bullying, you know, actually, because the men weren't there to protect their women and children. And that caused a firestorm. And usually I don't talk about this publicly because everyone, you know, they're worried about your safety.
Right.
Saying what you can't say. But, you know, it was world news that got hushed up. And so I believe it was 13 of them, and I'll have to send you the article. 13 of them got together and they said, you know what? There's no worse disrespect than breaking into a man's home with weapons in front of their women and children. We don't care. We don't care. We're going to retaliate. And they did it in a very organized way. They didn't tell us. And they went downtown.
The Hanafi takeover, the first act of terror in the city of Washington. March 9th, 1977, gunmen invade the B'nai B'rith headquarters.
And I heard Khalis tell us, whoever we prayed to, we better pray to because we're going to be dying today. He threatened to behead all of us, he threatened to kill us, and he told us that we were responsible for all the ills of the world.
Then the district building.
It happened so fast. The shots rang out down the hallway, glass shattering everywhere, people ducking in the council chambers.
Then the Islamic Center.
We understand that demands have been relayed to the police.
The city of Washington comes to a standstill.
And they held, they shut down buildings, held the buildings hostage. So it was looked at as a terrorist act. So it was looked at it that way. And they're saying, look, we want the news on us. We want to be heard. We want America to know that this is what's going on and this is how they're treating us. And it won't be tolerated. And maybe that wasn't the way to go about it, but that is what they did. And they, because it's our nation's capital, it made world news.
Who was the mayor at that time?
Walter E. Washington became the first elected mayor of D.C. As Mayor Uncle Walter, as he was known, was beloved by his constituents, but it's been said he was hamstrung in running the city due to a combination of state and city government regulations. Still, though, he had some major accomplishments, including establishing D.C.'s Office of Latino Affairs. He would leave office in the election of '79, losing to Councilmember Marion Barry, and the rest is history.
This is the 70s.
Yes, it was called the 1977 Siege of Washington, D.C. That's what it was named. And I did actually look it up on, I tried to find some of the snippets on YouTube. They have scrubbed some of it down. There used to be more information on it. maybe like 5 years ago. But in the last couple of years, I've noticed there was less information on it out there. But you can still see, like, I do have the transcripts from where they were discussing it, like an article in the New York Times. So you can find some of the articles still, because they did like a hostage negotiation where some people from like Egypt, you know, had called. They were calling, like other Muslims from other countries was calling, like, look, this is not a good look. This is not, you know, this is not, you know, when you're angry, this is not how you go about it. You know, like you're making us all look bad, you know. So they ended up surrendering. You know, one person did get shot.
No more than an hour later, leaving the restaurant, Kojo saw the commotion at the building and raced back to WHUR, where the phone was already ringing. Another reporter gave him the news.
People have taken over the 5th floor of the district building. There's been shooting, and I saw Maurice lying in the hallway outside the press room. He said he's lying there and there are bullet holes in his sweater, but he's not moving.
Maurice Williams had just stepped out of the elevator with Marion Barry when he was shot.
It was one of the worst days of our lives.
The Hanafi Muslims seized 3 buildings that day and took more than 140 hostages. Their leader, Hamas Abdul Khalid, wanted to bring attention to the murder of his family back in 1973.
It took appeals for compassion from 3 Islamic ambassadors to finally convince the terrorists to surrender.
In the end, one person said it was like New Year's Eve. Church bells ringing.
You have to wonder whether they would have the ability to come in and negotiate the 3 Islamic ambassadors primarily for Jewish lives during the times we live in today.
You okay? Yes, indeed. Now I am.
Was your father like the leader, or he was a part of the group?
He was a part of the group. You know, he was a part of the men. You know, they were just ready to give their lives. They felt like they were giving up their lives. They were going to sacrifice their freedom. They weren't imagining they were going to die, of course, but they said, if I have to sacrifice my freedom so that my child can live peacefully, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to do that. And that's what they were thinking in their minds. And they didn't think like, I'm going to further separate myself from my home and leave, you know, my women and children unprotected. Right. They just went straight for, you know, like, hey, we're going to plan this out, retaliate, and it'll be so much, you know, attention put on this. They can't help but to hear us. Now, I would have, you know, once I've gotten older, I realized, like, you know, I would have preferred for things to be different, because I can imagine a man, if 13 men can shut down a whole downtown, you know what I'm saying? These were some powerful men, right? Mentally. So imagine if they use that strength in a different way in our communities, they could have truly, you know, transformed, you know, today's world. They really could. Like, that's the power of the mind, where they can really just like put it together like that and shut down everything, and everyone in the world is watching.
Now, you said one person died, and then the rest, were they all arrested? Did everybody get locked up?
Everybody got locked up. They gave them like 40 something to life. They kept it really hushed up. They never, it never came out that they breached our homes, you know, because it was just like, these men are just crazy. They just coming downtown with guns just to be coming downtown. They never, there was one reporter that was pretty much daring people to look more into the story. It was, I saw it on YouTube, where he said, I wonder what would make these men do something like that. Maybe you should ask yourself that.
In terms of understanding what you're covering, in terms of the sensitivity of what you're covering, you're talking about emotional sensitivity. It's a little different from sensitivity for facts. You can get the facts. All of us get the facts. That's a very important part of the business. In my struggle to be a good journalist, I have no fear of having that kind of sensitivity. But I recognize that the danger is that you can go overboard and become a participant, become an advocate. I think the only reason that I have been called a participant or that I was involved or in the middle, as has been said, and many expressions have been used, was simply because I got it first and I got an understanding of it. That's all.
So you know how when they talk in code, he was trying to let you know, like, maybe they weren't so off.
Right.
These were people that were taking care of their families, not bothering anyone, no records.
That's right.
What would make people that never been in trouble before ever, just all of a sudden say we're going to take weapons and take over the whole the Capitol downtown?
Right.
In 1973, some gunmen came to the Hanafi house and turned it into a slaughterhouse. 7 members of Khalif's family were killed here.
We're dealing with brutal murders. A baby 9 days old. Most people are afraid to hold a baby that young. But here you got somebody that took that baby in their arms and drowned it. Khalifa Hamas Abdul Khalis lost his 9-day-old to 22 months and his daughters, 6 times shot in the head. These is fiends, man.
He had 6 or 7 of his children murdered in a house on 16th Street.
But, so everything didn't really come out, but because it looked like such a terrorist act, it had to be, it had to be hushed up and disposed of. And, it's a lot of people did not want to talk about it. And it was tough. It was tough to go through it. I think it was tough on my mother mentally because she's a more private, subdued woman.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that many eyes on you and, have that many labels on you, like what kind of people are you to do something like this? Like how unpatriotic, these type of things, to live through that is really devastating for a family, for many families, to experience something like that. Because the person that you love the most is being, vilified.
Mm-hmm.
It's this amazing villain, and all he wanted to do, I didn't really realize it at the time. But I was just like, I felt like really ashamed of myself because.
Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.